Hey everyone, Lotus Prince here, and I am back for the Q&A. And I gotta thank you all. I got a lot more questions than I thought I would for this. So I actually printed out like 4 papers worth of them. So I'll try to get through these and see if I can answer them to the best of your ability. So let's see. First one I got was from Sharingan Vizard 07. How did I come up with the name Lotus Prince and Valgov 19? And what was the last game that scared me? Lotus Prince I came up with during high school. I was more into Magic the Gathering at the time, which explains Lotus, and I don't know, I kind of just threw Prince on the end of that because it sounded kind of cool, and the name ended up being one of the more creative things I've come up with. I'm not very good at that kind of thing, so that was sort of a fluke. Valgov 19. Valgov comes from the name of the villain of the 3rd season of the Slayers anime. Honestly, I like the villain of the 1st season more, but Valgov sounds cooler than Rezo, even though I thought Rezo was a better character, so there's that. And the 19 is a reference to Stephen King's Dark Tower series. The number 19 comes off every once in a while, so Valgov 19, it was kind of 2 things I was really into at the time. The last game that scared me, that's easy. Well, I guess it's between Amnesia and White Day. Amnesia got me more into a panic, and it got me nervous. I'm not sure how far I would go to the word scared. It probably did, but if you want to play it safe, White Day definitely did. In the new building with that ceiling crawling woman, that was the worst. Demoniac WW asks, have I done or will I do a Zone of the Enders Let's Play? No, I have not. Yes, I would like to. Those games are great. They're pretty short, and they're freaking amazing. Like, they're really worth the watch. D. Gray 5100 Abel asks, what's my favorite horror game other than Eternal Darkness? Probably Silent Hill 2. That's a pretty easy one to fall back on. It's a tough decision between Silent Hill 2 and Eternal Darkness from a top horror game. Obviously, there are a lot more fantastic games, but those are the ones that really stick out to me. Ginger Straw Hat. Do I have plans for Killer is Dead? Yes. How is the Zone of the Enders HD collection? I have not played it yet, though I would like to. I'm sure it's gorgeous. Although the Silent Hill HD collection I heard is garbage, so hopefully this turns out better. I haven't heard the whole internet complaining about this one, so that makes me feel a little better. What are some of my favorite anime series and movies? Anime series, I'm really into One Piece right now. I've been watching that since college, even though it came out since I was in probably late middle school. Great show. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but that's kind of a no-brainer based on how many times I reference it. Bacano is fantastic. Slayers is a good old classic. The 2nd season's probably better than the 1st, but I like the 1st one more. I grew up with that one. That's the first anime I ever watched, actually. What was... I haven't watched the whole series yet, so I'm going a bit out on a limb for this one, but Attack on Titan is wonderful so far. Although, like, the first 6 episodes in a row will each make you cry. That is a rough series. As for anime movies, that's a bit tougher because I don't watch too terribly many of those. And when I do, it's like One Piece movie number 7, and those usually don't tie into anything, and they're just kind of stupid fun for a little while. So anime movies that really stand on their own, I haven't watched too many of them. I watched Ninja Scroll. I got a kick out of that one. The Cowboy Bebop movie was quite good, and that actually did somewhat tie into the series. It was plausible, whereas the One Piece movies are clearly not canon. I know I've seen more than that. This was way back in high school, so my memories are hazy, but Jinro was also really good, but once again, extremely somber. That is not a fun movie. I might be running out of ideas now. I know there's a billion more anime movies than that, but I tend to watch more series, so I probably am missing something, but I don't know. What made me want to be an LPer? Well, I've been a fan of thatguywiththeglasses.com since not the beginning, but either its first year or its second year, late first year, sometime in the second year, and one of its contributors, Paw, had done a Let's Play of King's Quest V. It's kind of funny because I actually was very much not against the idea of Let's Plays, but against watching them because I figured either I'd play the game and don't need to see it because I've already seen it, or I have not played the game but I don't want to be spoiled. And I never really considered that Let's Plays can offer you games you will not play, so it's cool to watch so you can just look at the experience. And I also did not consider that Let's Plays are as much about the commentary as they are about the game itself. You can get to hear different LPers' takes on it. So I would not have known that if I hadn't watched in the first place, but I saw, again, he was doing King's Quest V, and I was just like, whoa, someone other than me and my cousins have heard of King's Quest V? Like, nobody I knew, except for, like, one friend back in elementary school. Like, none of my friends know about King's Quest. I even tried showing my college roommates, but it was the god-awful NES port of King's Quest V, so I wasn't really doing him any favors. So I'm like, whoa, someone else has seen King's Quest V, and it's like one of my favorite King's Quests? Sure, I'll take a look at it. And I had so much fun watching it that I tried to do a Let's Play of King's Quest VI that didn't end up successfully happening until a year later. I, in fact, first produced Typing of the Dead, so I worked my way up to King's Quest VI because I wasn't used to DOSBox or recording that kind of footage, but that's what inspired me to give this a shot. So really, I gotta thank Paul for inspiring me in the first place. Silver Lancaster asks, isn't Corpse Party Dead Patient out? Will I play it? Yes, it's out, but not in English. It came out in Japan on May 29th, my birthday. So when and if it gets brought over to the States, or even if I have to wait till it's fan translated, yeah, I'll play it. I heard it's on the PC too, so it'll be even easier to play than having to borrow my friend's PSP. That'll be nice to not have to bug him over that. Pardon me if I mispronounce this. Kaj Nieuwenhuizen said, I heard you speak about English and grading papers. Are you a teacher? Kind of. I am a part-time lecturer at a university, which means I work on a per-semester basis. So I'm still looking for a full-time job, but technically, yes, I do teaching. For, in this case, college freshman essay writing courses. So when I talk about grading papers, that's pretty much all I do in terms of grading. So that's a lot to tackle. Also, Xbox One, PS4, or Wii U. I didn't watch E3, I only watched select clips from it, but from what I hear, Microsoft is just imploding with sheer stupidity. So I would definitely go with the PS4 over the Xbox One. The Wii U is not really part of that head-on collision. It's kind of off doing its own thing. And it doesn't really have any kind of library right now, but when it builds one up, I would probably get one as well. The thing is, the last two systems I got, well, no, it's not the last two anymore, but I got the PS3 and the PS2 each 7 years after they came out, when they were a lot cheaper and they had a lot of games, which also, most of which were a lot cheaper at that point. So I'll probably get a Wii U and a PS4, but it'll be a while. DK Mario Link asks, wouldn't all of those Suda51 games take like 5 months to finish? Probably, yeah. That's the problem with Let's Plays. Even at the rate I take, it's gonna be a while before I get through all these. Also, ever play Animal Crossing or The Sims? Animal Crossing, no, not interested at all. The Sims, technically I've played it, the very first Sims. I don't think I owned it. It was someone else's copy, so I played it for a little while. It was mildly amusing for a little bit, but really those games aren't my thing. The closest I've come to really liking those kinds of games are SimCity 2000 and SimAnt, believe it or not. SimAnt, which I beat. Also, yes, you can beat that. But The Sims, I don't care. Like, I get that they're nice for relaxation and everything, but they're not for me. Omega Saber. Have I played Lone Survivor? No, but I downloaded it on Steam, so at some point I will. Would I Let's Play Silent Hill Book of Memories if I could? As unpleasant as that game looks from a Silent Hill standpoint, yeah, if I could, then I would. But I can't. Um, because it's on the Vita, and Vita doesn't have video out. Alex Wise, this is not a question. He's just pointing out. I brought up Michigan Report from Hell in my Suda 51 games, and Alex says, "Oh, it's funny because there actually is a. I don't know if it's a town or a city, but there is a Hell, Michigan. And actually, it's funny because the game's not named after that. The game doesn't even take place in Michigan. It takes place in Chicago, Illinois. But the title still makes sense because it's really about Lake Michigan, where all this bad stuff is coming from, and Chicago is in fact on the edge of Lake Michigan. But yeah, usually when you just say Michigan, you mean the state, not the lake. So, the Freak and Nitro. Do I prefer informative LPs or blind LPs? That's actually a pretty difficult thing to answer. I thought about this before answering it on camera here. I like playing horror games blind as opposed to not playing them blind. Like, I've played them already because you won't get as good reactions out of me and I'm not as nervous and everything. But overall, I think I prefer the informative LPs anyway because I'm able to give you a comprehensive look at the game. Like, I got a little bit of flack from, take for example, Deus Ex Human Revolution because I'm missing a bunch of stuff and I wasn't really playing it right, but I was playing it blind. Meanwhile, the first Deus Ex, I killed. And even for horror LPs, the blind may make it a little more fun for me, but for the viewers, maybe not so much, because I'm really walking extremely slowly, looking around every corner, because it's like, oh, it's so spooky, something might get me. But on the other hand, realistically, I'm slowing down gameplay a lot, so it's kind of a give and take. So the informative ones are probably the better product, even though I enjoy myself more playing blind. Susanna Patkowska asks, or no, doesn't ask, well, kind of asks, when I said that Killer 7 was assassins doing cool assassin stuff, Susanna is like, like fighting Templars? See what you did there. But with Killer 7, not even close. Next page, questions. Freecar says, what made me want to continue LPs after Typing of the Dead? Well, I wasn't planning on only doing Typing of the Dead. That was just kind of my start point. So it's just like, let's see what other cool games I can play that I want other people to see. And American McGee's Alice was a great second choice in my opinion because I love that game and not a lot of people got the chance to pick it up. Like, it was out there, but it kind of vanished before it was really appreciated. So now everyone loves it, and fortunately now you can get it on definitely Origin, maybe Steam. I'm not sure if it's out on Steam yet. But before that it was physical copy only, and those are kind of obnoxiously expensive now. It's like $60-$70. Maybe the price has gone down since the downloadable titles came out, but it was a nuisance to get on something like eBay, for example. Neon Wave 1. How do I make or record my LPs? For SD footage, I use a Dazzle. Pick one up at Best Buy for $50. For HD footage for consoles, I use, I forgot how to pronounce it. Like HAUPPAGE. Like, I say Hauppauge, but that's not the way to say it because it's named after like a town or something. But I use an HD PVR. And for computer footage, I use Fraps. And then I run them through a video editor. It doesn't really matter which one. You can use any one of those. And then I used Vegas at first. Now I use Premiere. And then render them, upload them. Perlonius. Where can I get a copy of White Day? Well, I had given a link of where I got my downloaded version, although last time I checked that page, it looks like the blog has been taken down, which would suck royally. So I hope that's just an error on their site's part and not that it's been taken down permanently, because that'd be awful. But actually, someone in one of the YouTube comments, or maybe it was a PM, told me where I could actually buy a physical copy, which is, I'm looking over there, is, it's a Korean website called Gmarket, but there's an English version, like english.gmarket.co.kr. I know that in America you're more used to .com, but in Europe you'll see things like that, like .co.uk for the United Kingdom, .co.ir for Ireland. Well, here it's .co.kr for Korea. So english.gmarket.co.kr if you want a physical copy. Although it might be buggy, and good luck running it on modern systems anyway. Also, it's in Korean, so I hope you can read Korean. But just to give myself ease of mind, I actually do have a physical copy now. I'm quite happy about that. Again, not that I'll do very well running it, but it is what it is. Flumpor says, with E3 going on, is there a particular upcoming game I'm especially excited about? Well, I've always liked the Super Smash Bros. Game, so the upcoming one looks pretty cool. Like I know that people are losing their minds over the new Donkey Kong Country and Mario games. I was never that big into the Mario games. 64 was great, Sunshine was great. I didn't play the Galaxy games, so, like Mario 3D Land. Like I don't care. But Smash Brothers is always good, and I am flipping out over Metal Gear Solid 5: Phantom Pain. That trailer was just so beautifully done. I'm particularly interested in Quiet and Skullface. I like the I like the enigmatic characters. Cartoon Heroine. Most difficult game I've LP'd, as in technically difficult or tough to get through because it's too scary, etc. So different kinds of difficulty. As far as just plain hard, like this game is difficult for me to play through because it has a high level of difficulty. It's hard mode kind of tough. God Hand, probably without a doubt. Even though saying probably indicates doubt, you know what I mean. Too scary or something like that. I wouldn't say like difficult to get through, but the one that put me under the most stress lately was White Day. That, again, for the new building, that game was brutal. Although on subsequent playthroughs, I kind of breezed through it because once you know how to deal with things, it's nowhere near as big of a deal. So it's actually a good thing I played White Day blind, because if I had played that after the fact, I would have like slept through the majority of the game, and it would not have been as fun to watch. Alex Red 68. Do I plan to play Rule of Rose, Deadly Premonition, or Forbidden Siren in the future? Rule of Rose, maybe. The story's fantastic. Fantastic. But the gameplay is awful. Like, to the point where it kind of becomes not fun. Like, horror games are made scary because you're not a good fighter. Like in Silent Hill, you're like, you're really clunky with your combat. But Rule of Rose, it's that, but it's embarrassing. Number one, your weapons, with one exception. Two exceptions, is a gun by the end of the game. But really, one exception, most of what you have, the sharp objects, are cutlery. Like kitchenware, like knives, and I don't know about forks, but various kinds of knives. And because it's whatever you find on like this, what's the word? Like it's sort of almost like an orphanage school. So you kind of find it on the premises, or on the premise. So you have this little, here's my fist, knife's like out to here. So it's really close range. And of course characters are scared. They're gonna be like, but your character actually like fights like this. Like, I can't look. And it's like, are you kidding me? And the boss fights are goddamn annoying because they have so much health, and their hitboxes are weird, and your own hitbox is weird. They take a backswing at you, and if you catch them even during the animation, but they're done swinging, but they're still kind of going like, and if you touch that, you still get clocked and lose a lot of health. It's a pain in the ass, even though the game itself has a fantastic story going for it. Deadly Premonition, at some point, yes. I finally got the PS3 version. Very happy about that. Forbidden Siren, yes. In America, it's only known as Siren, but the sequel never came out here, so that's definitely, I'm calling that Forbidden Siren 2. I do own Siren and Siren Blood Curse. I don't yet own Siren 2, and that's kind of what's holding me back, because I would like to LP all three of them if I could, but Siren 2 just doesn't work, even on a modded console, on a modded American console. It was released in PAL countries, but it's on a different DVD format, so I would have to either rip the game or torrent a version of the game that's had information removed to cut down on memory, like other languages removed, for example, for the sake of simplicity, and burn that to a DVD that the PS2 would accept. Like, of course I would buy the game first, so I own the game before I start ripping it, but otherwise it's not going to work here. Now, the version I ironically, or not ironically, I can play Forbidden Siren 2 on the PS2, just not the version that's in English language. It's also in Japan, and I can play Japanese games, but then I can't read Japanese. So if I could get Forbidden Siren 2 to work, then I'll be really excited about it. If it's just never going to happen, then I'll do Siren and Blood Curse, but there'll still be that hole missing, and it'll just be a little frustrating. Ellie Feed in. Would I consider LPing any JoJo's Bizarre Adventure games? You know, as much as I love the series, not really, because the Dreamcast PS1 version is part 3. It's a fighting game, so it's not too much to see there. The PS2 games are very text and dialogue heavy, and they're in Japanese. And when it gets to the fighting levels, they're relatively brief, and it's kind of like, here's your opponents, dun 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 dun. So it's kind of more about the way you connect the cutscenes to the fighting, and you're really supposed to know what's going on in order for the fighting to mean anything to you. Like, why is this character able to do that move? And there is just so much explaining I would have to do for both Phantom Blood and Golden Wind. So much explaining that if you're watching this out of context, it makes no goddamn sense, like, at all. Like, level 1 of, what is it, the Golden Wind, the Part 5 game for the PS2, is Giorno versus, I forgot how to pronounce his name, like Bucciarati or something like that, the guy who uses the sticky finger stand. So it's just you summoning a stand, which is basically like the spirit person, for the sake of simplicity, behind you, just punching things a lot, going aura, aura, aura. Actually, Giorno would go muda, muda, but beside the point. And the guy using sticky fingers, like, every stand has a different power. The enemy's power is he can just produce a zipper on something and open it, and, like, open the thing. So he can just unzip a wall, walk through it, zip it back up. So he can essentially walk through walls that way. It's really kind of cool how that works. And Giorno's stand gives life to things. So if you don't know that, it's like, how do I fight this guy? Like, we're on a bus, there's not a lot of room. Wait a minute, there's a fire extinguisher. Now it's a snake. Get him. And it's like, what the hell is even happening? It's like the most confusing goddamn thing. And then the guy with the zipper stand is like, aha, but you didn't expect this. And he, like, unzips a person and hides inside him, and then there's just people walking around. So it's like, how do I find him? I know, I punched out his tooth earlier. I'll turn the tooth into a ladybug, and the ladybug will fly to the correct person. And, like, any viewers, like, it's like that Jackie Chan internet meme, like, it's like, what is going on? So, like, so confusing. That and the games are only kind of okay anyway. Now, the upcoming one, All-Star Battle, if it has English subtitles, then I might consider LPing that, because I'm extremely passionate about that game, and it's made by CyberConnect, so I assume that it'll play like Asura's Wrath or the new Naruto fighting game. So if that ends up working that way, then I might just do that, because I freaking love JoJo, and that covers all 7 parts, which I never thought would happen. If I could redo any of my past LPs, which ones would I redo? Probably any of them before Eternal Darkness, just because my mic quality was horrible. I set the mic, like, its amp up, because I was like, oh, it'll be louder that way, but it also has that obnoxious, like, mouth touching the microphone feedback sounds, like that audio feedback, and it's unpleasant to listen to my voice in those really old LPs. Also in Silent Hill 4, whenever I can, I make it's a hole, there was a hole here, like, now it's gone now, like, there was an X here, it's gone now, and Silent Hill 4 is the one game where the hole in your bathroom seals up. I actually could have said there was a hole here, it's gone now, and I didn't, and every single commenter was like, how did you miss that? I'm like, oh god, it was really embarrassing. Gecko Lady, scariest game I've played in terms of story and in terms of gameplay. I don't know if I'd say White Day was the scariest in terms of gameplay, but it probably scared me the most obviously of games in recent history. Scariest games overall, probably the Fatal Frame series in general. In terms of story, The game itself wasn't really scary at all. It was creepy and disturbing, but as far as basic story goes, probably the first Corpse Party. Because what if that happened to you? You teleport into an elementary school that's falling apart, ghosts are out to get you, and I know every horror game ever is supernatural thing out to get you, but these guys want to inflict as much pain as humanly possible before you die, and the school's miasma makes it so you remain conscious for longer than you should. Like, you kind of should be dead, but you last another, like, 30 seconds, you know, that kind of thing. And you feel the pain of your death forever after you die. It is not a good fate. Like, there's no way out. No matter what's going to happen, you're going to die unpleasantly in some way. The best possible scenario is you kill yourself quickly, but you'll still feel the pain of even your suicide. So that's probably one of the most hopeless games I've seen. That, or maybe like I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Not even the game so much, because the game was an adventure game, but the basic short story of that. Like, you're made immortal, and you're being tortured. Like, that sucks. So both of those is just like, oh my god. Like, there's a part in Corpse Party Book of Shadows where I want to say it was Yuka, in one of the wrong endings, someone just like cracks her head and splits it open like into two pieces, and the text says, for a second I could see in two different directions at once, and it's like, Jesus Christ. So those games, those stories are the worst. Aoi Finikusu says, in one video I hinted that I was a teacher, so I've covered that. What do I teach? I covered that. Where? I'd rather not say. I'll just say at a university. I don't want to get too specific with my location. And do I tell my students about my LPs? Once or twice. The closest I've come is saying that I do them, but I did not give my username or where to find them or what they are or anything, because you want to maintain that professional distance between you and your students. I don't want students getting like buddy with me, because the more they see me as a friend, like a casual friend they would hang out with, the less chance there is of respect, because this is a really easy thing to overlook, but liking someone is not necessarily the same as respecting them. So I want to have like a professional kind of being liked versus a casual kind of being liked. So I don't really go like, hey, watch my videos. It's like, So like, as much as I kind of would like them to see my stuff, I really should not be telling them that. Anthony Gamer UK. Will I LP Project Zero, which in the States is known as Fatal Frame? I actually have LP'd all 4 of them. There is a 5th one for the Wii. Actually, my friends got it for me for Christmas. I do have Project Zero 2 for the Wii. I'm not sure if I should LP that, because on the one hand it gives you a different experience, but on the other, it's Fatal Frame 2, and I have done that already. So, I don't know. Would that be worth it? Like, whenever I tackle Resident Evil, I will do Resident Evil 1 and Remake, because they're different enough. So, if Project Zero 2 is different enough, then perhaps I could, assuming I can get it to run on an HD TV. Because it's certainly not going to run on my SD TV, because it's 60 Hz only, and American TVs can't keep up with that. Philip Collins, in the 90s, was I a Nintendo fan or a Sega fan? Really, I liked both. I didn't say like, oh, I like this console and not the other, but I grew up with a Genesis, so I was probably a little bit biased in its favor. Cassidy Davis. Would I consider playing Kuon or The Suffering in the future? Yes, I would. There are a lot of games I want to play in the future. It's just a matter of when the hell am I going to get to them. But yeah, I would like to. TTT Gundams. What are those figures behind me? These are JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Super Action statue figures. The ones immediately behind me are Star Platinum, Jotaro Stand, Jotaro himself, Joseph Joestar, the guy from Battle Tendency. Actually, Mr. Ryu got me this one for my birthday, I think it was. I freaking love this guy. He even has his giant crossbow for when he fights Wham, and that giant sledgehammer, or warhammer. Freaking awesome. Then we got one of my favorite characters, Dio Brando, and his stand, The World. I actually do have more figures than these, because I went into, like, what's the word, like a binge for a while. So I just freaking love those, and they're actually really well articulated. You can move their wrists and all sorts of cool stuff with them. I'm really passionate about JoJo. Until when have I decided to keep making Let's Plays? I assume you mean, is there a time where I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop? Unless something interferes with me, I don't really plan on stopping, at least at this point. I just want to keep doing them because I like doing them. Hopefully I'm saying this right. Ojunix? Or perhaps it's OJ Unix. How long have I been a gamer? Well, since I lived in this state, because that's when I really started playing, like that's when I got a Sega Genesis and everything. So I moved here in the 2nd grade, so either since the 2nd or the 3rd grade probably, maybe 4th. That seems a little early. I don't know. When I was 8, 9, or 10, something like that, let's say. Played on the safe side. When I got a Genesis with Sonic 2, I would say. Favorite video game stories? That's a good question, because you don't get all those from my LPs, and a lot of good video game stories come from when you were a kid anyway. I guess I could say some really amusing situations that startled me back in the day. I'm not sure I have any really cool stories where I triumphed over. I guess I'll give 3 quick ones. One of them was Jet Force Gemini. My brother owned the game, and I actually got all the way up to the final boss, and I just couldn't beat it. He was too hard for me. And eventually my brother sold the game. Later I found it in a GameStop somewhere in the used game section. I actually rebought it for myself, brought it to college with me, beat it there. Super excited. I know that was like the most boring story ever, but I was really proud of that. That is a hard goddamn game. Let's see. Two more. Here's a good one. Resident Evil 4. I was playing this in college, and I was playing Mercenary Mode. And I was playing the Waterworld stage. It's the one stage that's not found in the single-player campaign, and it has a unique enemy that's not found in the single-player campaign. It's like Dr. Salvador, the chainsaw guy, but bigger, taller, and he has a chainsaw with 2 blades on it for some reason. And those guys are terrifying. They barely flinch when you hit them with attacks. I've only knocked one down ever once, because I hit him square on with a grenade. Usually even a grenade will just make him go like, ah, and then they keep coming. So I ran into one, and he was chasing me. All I wanted to do was get away from him. So I'm kind of running aimlessly, and there are 2 of these things in the level. So I'm running towards some house, kick down the door, run into it, and I run immediately into the other one, but he's facing the other way. So I'm like, oh my god, wrong way. So in the time it takes him to turn around, I quickly do a 180 out of reflex. But of course, who's been chasing me the whole time? So when I do the 180, I'm looking right at the guy like running at me. Freaked me out. Another really amusing story is, of all games in the world, it seems weird that this one would startle me or scare me. Castlevania 64. There's this one part with the hedge maze where you have these 2 sort of dog statues, and they come to life, of course, and you can't ever kill them. You can like do enough damage that would kill them and they'll fall down, but after a few seconds they'll get back up. So they're effectively chasing you until you're done with the maze. Also found inside the maze is Frankenstein's monster with either a hedge trimmer or like a straight up a chainsaw. Probably a chainsaw, although it seems weird to use a chainsaw to trim hedges, because you actually do see him trimming the hedges with it before he notices you. So he starts chasing me. Same thing with Frankenstein's monster. You can kill him after a while, but he'll get back up. So you can't permanently take him down. So basically when you see him, run. So I'm running, trying to avoid him, and I find a side exit door, which is not the way I want to go, but I figure I'll old school video game it up, leave the room, come back, enemy's positions reset. So I leave the room and come back, but believe it or not, the enemy's positions did not reset. So when I reopen the door, Frankenstein's monster is standing right there, like at the ready. I flipped. Like that was nuts. That got me real good. Oh, one more actually. Silent Hill 3 in the hospital. Do you remember in my Let's Play that one hallway I ran down where the nurses just spawn? They just spontaneously appear. It's way behind you, so you don't see them blink into existence, but all of a sudden you hear them. The thing with the nurses in 3 is that they do this really heavy breathing. and when a bunch of them do it at once, it kind of has that effect. You know, if you open a bunch of windows or tabs and play the same video at the same time, the sound kind of compounds on itself and the volume explodes. So I'm running down the hallway and all of a sudden I just hear like I almost fell out of my goddamn chair. That was the worst. Because it's not like they were hiding behind a corner or something. It's a narrow hallway. There's clearly nothing there, so I know that I'm safe. And they just spawned. That scared the crap out of me. Borador. Will I do Dead Space 3? Yes. Resident Evil games. Yes, at some point, although that's rather intimidating because I want to do all of them that I can, and there's like over 20 games. I think there's like 22 or 23. If I do them all, I'm going to have to do like 3 or 4 and then break in between and do a different game because I don't think anybody wants to see 20 freaking Resident Evil games in a row. But yeah, I would like to do them. Would I do Q&A sessions more often? Like every 2 months, for example, just throwing out a time. That's a good question. Perhaps I would do Q&A sessions more often, but I don't want to do them too often because how much are the questions going to change? Like, I don't want to do another Q&A session too soon because then it's going to be like, what are some of the scariest games you ever played? Oh, asked that in the previous Q&A. Ooh, so like I would want enough time for there to be different questions, I guess. But yeah, it's a good idea doing more Q&A sessions. I don't see why not. Dave Jackson, would I do the Luigi's Mansion games? You know, I kind of would like to do a Luigi's Mansion for the GameCube. The 3DS does not have video out though. Also, I do not own a 3DS. So as much as I would like to play Luigi's Mansion, whatever it's called, Dark Moon or something like that for the 3DS, I would love to play that one, but I could not LP it. Mina Alabaster, do I have a Facebook page? There is no Lotus Prince Facebook page, but there is my personal page. No offense though, but I would rather not give that out because I don't want my personal page to become a fan page. Just because I'd rather stick to people that I know personally. Although, if I'm not too lazy, I don't know, maybe I'd open up a Lotus Prince page if anyone would actually be willing to go to that. Michael Uhas, we know which horror games I love. Are there any horror games I really hate? I can find redeeming qualities in most horror games, but only one do I really just plain dislike. Alone in the Dark for the Wii. That game is garbage. And it seems that even the developers knew that it was garbage, because if you bought it new at the store, when you put it in the Wii, you can immediately chapter skip to the very end of the game. The game just comes with chapter select. I'm like, are you serious? This game is bad. I tried playing it, I got bored with it, so I'm like, you know what, screw it. I don't care if it takes the fun out of it. I'm going to go to GameFAQs, look up a guide, follow the guide word for word, and just get through the game that way. Because I still want to beat it, but I don't want to beat it by myself because I'm not as interested in the game. Well, the guide wasn't complete. It stopped at a certain point. So I got to that point, and I'm like, well, you know what, I'm stopping too. Checked GameFAQs 2 years later. There's 2 guides in the game. Neither of them are complete. What does that tell you? Also, how do you check inventory? Nunchuck. Wiimote. Like I'm opening my trench coat. I feel like a freaking idiot doing that when the stupid sensor bar doesn't read it, so I'm going like this. It's freaking stupid. God forbid I press the minus button or something like that. That game sucks. Sebastian Lasarte. Or Lasart. Either way, I'm mispronouncing it one way, so I'm sorry about that. You guys have heard me reference A Song of Ice and Fire. Who's my favorite character? Tyrion's a really easy one to go with. Tyrion Lannister, he's always fun. As for other characters I just plain like, Jon Snow, Arya Stark. Probably the scariest character, one of the scariest I've read just in any book, Ramsay Bolton. That guy is a goddamn nightmare. I don't know if you've met him in the show yet. If you read the books, of course you know what I'm talking about. But if you just watch the TV show, I'm not sure if you've met him yet. But when you do, oh, that guy's not fun to be around. That guy is terrifying. Next one. That Random Gamers. Order of Silent Hill games. Least favorite to favorite. Also, what's my profession? I gave the profession one, so I can skip over that one. But least favorite to favorite Silent Hill games. Least favorite, probably Shattered Memories, because the scares are just non-existent at all. Oh, the story is brilliant, but the scares aren't there, and the game's not fun until, like, the end. Next is probably... This is actually difficult. Oh, by the way, I'm not including Book of Memories in this because I haven't played it. Ooh. Maybe... I don't know, maybe Downpour. Like, I praised the game relatively highly when I Let's Played it, but really, compared to the other games, it is pretty clunky. Then I'd probably go for either Origins or Homecoming. No, you know what? No. I don't know. Maybe Origins, because it has the classic Silent Hill experience, but it feels so much like Silent Hill 2, it's like I might as well just play that. Then Homecoming. It's between Homecoming and 4. I don't know which of them would place before the other. 4 was a break from the formula, which can be good, but the ghosts were kind of a pain in the ass, and the forced 2D controls were kind of awkward for me. And I don't know, it didn't feel as much like a Silent Hill game because it originally just wasn't one. Homecoming was the most difficult of the games. The combat was a pain in the ass, and it focused extremely heavily on combat, but it did at least feel like a Silent Hill game. The graphics were great, and the story was fantastic. Then, probably Silent Hill 1. It's the classic experience, legitimately scary, holds up today. Then 3, for the same reason, except that the main character is really likable, and 2 is my favorite. Nicholas Hawley. Have I seen the Berserk movies? What did I think of them? Yes, and they're goddamn awesome. And I cannot wait for the 3rd movie. And not because it's going to be The Eclipse. I've seen The Eclipse 3 freaking times. Manga, anime, video game. It'll be cool to see it animated better, though. But what I'm really interested in seeing is... I don't remember his name. That demon that headed those, like, mad dog killer guys. That guy is a nightmare. It's amazing. Like, you see these guys just run into random villages and just rape and murder. Like, there's this one little girl that the leader sees, and he's just like, now what am I gonna do about you? So that has some horrible implications, and then one or two panels later, you just see her, like, various naked body parts, like, impaled on pikes, and they're just running into town with them, and it's like, Jesus Christ. But the thing that makes that guy so intriguing is that his whole army, this is what they do. So, like, picture that horrible situation many, many times. And you still feel bad for them. Because the reason they're doing it is because they are absolutely terrified of their boss. Like, you see them all running into town with this wild glint in their eye. And someone notices. It might have been Guts. He's like, wait a minute. That's fear. What's going on here? And the reason they're doing what they do is because it will be bad for them if they don't. Like, there's one scene somewhere where one of the goons is talking to the boss, and he's like, you know, a lot of people get off on, like, raping and pillaging, and that can be fun, but it's like, dude, seriously, like, I think we're going a little far. Like, this is getting to the point where, like, even for me, it's uncomfortable. I mean, and that's like a Hokuto thug saying, I don't like what I do. Like, whoa. So, like, he's like, I don't know if I want to be doing this anymore. And the boss just, like, takes his thumb and forefinger and just, like, crushes the guy's skull. And then he's like, now, you guys, all I want is for you to have fun and enjoy yourselves. Like, I'm not trying to be, like, a hard ass. Like, I just want us to have fun. You guys are having fun, right? And they're all like, yes, sir! And it's just like, holy crap. Like, this guy... Like, Jesus Christ. Like, that. What a freaking terrifying situation. So I just want to see how the movie handles those guys, because it's just like, ugh. So I can't wait for that to come out. And I know people are kind of wonky about the 3D, because it's like weird computer animation in that. But the Zod scene in the first movie, wow. Handled brilliantly. And the 100-man fight, that was great. Sorry about that. My battery ran out during recording. This went on for longer than I thought. So, anyway, continuing on with the questions. Let's see. Jaded Bunny 8. What inspired me to do LPs? Well, I already answered that one, but... And how did I get affiliated with Blistered Thumbs? Yeah, as I said before, I've been a fan of thatguywiththeglasses.com for a very long time. So, when Blistered Thumbs first launched, I sent an application in for it, and nothing ended up happening. Which, honestly, not too surprising, but after a couple of years, I think it was 1 or 2 years, I sent one again when I knew that they had an opening, because I think someone had just left on the other site, I think. So after a couple of months, I was actually accepted, and that blew me away, because that's one of those things where I was trying for it for a while, but I didn't really think that it would actually end up working out. So I was extremely flattered, and again, blown away that it did. That was awesome. Shiro Dragon. Other than horror, what kinds of games do I like RPG, strategy, platform, etc.? And will we see an LP of those types of games? I do like RPGs, but with the exception of ones that I know are extremely short, like Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, I'm not going to be doing those because they are so long and have so many battles, and you don't want to watch me for like 5 months doing one game, as much as I like them. If I were ever to do them, I'd have to cut out the vast majority of my footage, so you don't have to watch me grind. Strategy, not so much. Platforming can be pretty fun. The thing with those games, though, is you have to do them all in one shot, so that could take a while. Like Shinobi 3 took me like 3 or 4 hours, which isn't a big deal in terms of a Let's Play, but all in one shot is pretty rough. I only have so much time to do actual recording, so that can be rather difficult. If I can pull one off, I'll give it a shot maybe. Although I don't know how entertaining those might be. Like, you want to watch me play like Sonic the Hedgehog, like, it might depend what kind of platformer, I guess. Ghost5487. Favorite, scariest, funniest game of LP'd? Scariest, again, probably the Fatal Frame games, although the first run through White Day was terrifying because I didn't know any of what was coming, and my god, that crawling ghost in the new building. Favorite... That's actually really difficult because I almost exclusively do games that I know that I like. American McGee's Alice is one of my favorite games. System Shock 2 was a lot of fun. Deus Ex is probably my favorite first-person shooter. I know it has RPG elements, but really it's a first-person game and you shoot things, so I consider it an FPS. Eternal Darkness was clearly a lot of fun for me to do. I was bubbling over about that game in the beginning. It actually turned some people off. I wouldn't shut up about it. Maybe those. As far as LPs themselves, favorite LPs that actually came out as opposed to the game itself. I'm really proud of Corpse Party, the first one especially. Shut Up and Jam Gaiden. I just think that, audio issues aside, I think that came out really well. And again, probably Eternal Darkness. I had a lot of analysis going in American McGee's Alice. Deus Ex also came out very well, I think. I know I'm repeating myself with some of those games here, but you know. Funniest game I've LP'd, that one for me is a no-brainer. Shut Up and Jam Gaiden. I don't play that many funny games, and God Hand has some really funny moments, but Shut Up and Jam Gaiden was like a laugh riot the entire time. Okay, and now we are on the last page of questions. That Cute Game Otaku. Would I LP one of the Clock Tower games? Yes. Although I do not have Clock Tower 2. I know that was kind of a Gaiden game, but I would like all of them. I could emulate the SNES Clock Tower because I would have to if I want to play it in English. And I own Clock Tower 1 and 3. And Haunting Ground, which isn't quite Clock Tower, but it's a spiritual successor. I need to get Clock Tower 2, though. Or Illbleed or Burning Rangers. Yeah, I could do Illbleed. I have that. I don't know anything about Burning Rangers, so I guess I'll have to look into that one, though. Zach1011. Have I played Deadly Premonition? What did I think of it? So I've already gotten the LP question, but have I just played it? No, I haven't, because I've been holding out for the LP, so I can't tell you what I think of it. I've only seen brief gameplay footage, and it looks pretty amusing. Although I heard that the gameplay itself can be boring, it's kind of more the scenes and the dialogue, because that looked weird. Shadow Fox 3rd. Was I excited to see System Shock 2 on Steam? Yeah, of course. Now everyone can play it. Although I will say, everyone already like if it's between GOG or Steam, you probably already have a Steam account. But just so you know, the GOG version comes with a bunch of extras, like the soundtrack and things like that. So if content is your issue, go with the GOG version. But Steam is, of course, extremely easily accessible. So really, anyone can get it from anywhere. Great stuff. I'm so happy this came out. It actually was released on, I don't know when it was released on Steam, but it was released on GOG on February 14th, Valentine's Day, which strangely is the first day I uploaded an LP installment of Typing of the Dead. Figure that out. Viscera Visage. Thoughts on Silent Hill / where the series is going. I hope that Book of Memories isn't indicative of where it's going, but I thought that Downpour was a big step in the right direction. It got a lot of stuff wrong, and the combat was a royal pain in the ass, and the infinite spawning enemies were a real pain in the ass. But story-wise, I wish they would depart from the Silent Hill 2 formula. Like, just once, please. Not every story needs to be. But what about your dark past that you didn't know about? That gets old real quick. Silent Hill 1 and 3 didn't have that at all, nor did 4. And actually Homecoming did a good job of remaining original as well. 2 set the standard, Origins copied it wholesale, and Downpour is also trying to get back to it. It's like, you don't need to do that. Stop being Silent Hill 2 over and over. But Downpour, again, did make a lot of steps in the right direction. It tried to be a horror game again, and it had some pretty cool set pieces with the other worlds. Eventually, the first couple weren't that great. So I hope it continues that trend. And unlike most people that I'm aware of, I can't say most people altogether, but I actually like a lot of the American releases. I actually kind of like all of them to one degree or another. I still think that 1 through 4 are the superior games, but Homecoming did a lot of stuff right. Origins was hardly original, but when you're copying the best, you're going to get its good qualities too. But I still respect the American games. I just hope that they don't go a Book of Memories direction. Does it look like a fun game? Yeah, it does, but it's not a Silent Hill game. It's, I don't know, Diablo with Silent Hill skin. It's like, yeah, Diablo's great, but I didn't want to play Diablo when I bought a game that says Silent Hill on the box. How do I feel about survival horror nowadays? Do I think it's dying? It doesn't seem to be as popular as it used to, although it seems to be going more of an indie route. And Frictional Games, it's not like a gigantic company or anything like that, but Frictional Games is totally doing it right. And then you have a whole bunch of stuff on Steam, like Lone Survivor, and Hotline Miami isn't a horror game, but it is dark. And you've got a bunch of games like that. So the games are still around, it's just that it seems that the big consoles don't seem to be really wanting them so much anymore, because they were always kind of catering to a niche audience. Even stuff like Dead Space, which is big and mainstream, isn't quite a horror series. It just really wishes it was. Wishes it were. It's like, they got the atmosphere kind of right, but when I'm doing trick shots, like, oh, one leg, oh, behind the back, it's like, it's not scary if I'm, like, playing with the enemies. It's still fun, though, at least. Did I enjoy E3? Well, as I said, I didn't watch many videos from E3, so I got most of my information from everyone else's Twitter and Facebook feeds. Sounded fun, I guess, but I don't tend to be big on E3, like, ever, because they're all for games that are not coming out immediately. So, I mean, it's only relatively recently that E3 was even relevant for me, because I got a PS2, a PS3 like a couple of years ago. Before that, everything on E3 was for systems I didn't own, so I'm like, oh, get to them at some point. I didn't pay attention at all, and I only really watched kind of highlight reels for the awkward, embarrassing moments that you could find during some of the press conferences and things like that. Those were always kind of a blast to watch, like just little flubs that happen. But again, I'll say that Smash Brothers and Metal Gear Solid 5 are really screaming out to me. Kingdom Hearts 3, thank God it's finally coming out, but I never played a Kingdom Hearts game. I watched my friends play it, so if my friend gets it, and I'm sure he will, then yeah, I'll enjoy watching it, but I'm not going to buy it. Final Fantasy 15, I didn't even see the trailers for it, but apparently Final Fantasy actually looks interesting again, but I kind of lost interest after 8, and I know that 8 was by no means a great game, but I didn't care about 9. I didn't much like what I saw of 10. 10 looked okay. I didn't really care as much for 10-2. 11's an MMO, so it's instantly irrelevant to me, as is M14. 12, I hated the... That's not true. I was about to say I hated the characters, but Bosch and Balthier were freaking amazing. I hated the main character because he wasn't the main character, but he wished he were. Like Vaughn, I just cannot stand that guy. And it's like, it's my story, you guys. Like, even other characters in the game tell him to shut up. That is amazing. I hate you. Go away. And the combat felt like MMO combat, except you're not online, and I'm not a fan of that. 13, the game is beautiful. Like, gorgeous. But, again, the battle system didn't really do it for me, and I didn't care for most of what I saw as far as character stuff going on. So, like, you know, I've lost interest in Final Fantasy a long time ago. So if 15 ends up turning things around, I'll watch my friend play it. Last Final Fantasy game I played was 5 on an emulator back in the day. Final Fantasy games I like: 5, 6. I played some of 4, I like that. I have not played 1, 2, or 3. I hear 7's great, but I actually got turned off to it because everyone raved about it so much. It's just like, just stop. From what I've seen, it looks pretty good. And I actually really enjoyed Mystic Quest. That's like Final Fantasy for, like, amateurs, I guess, but I really enjoyed that game anyway. Okay, Thanatos 6669. Least favorite map in a game? Very good question, especially considering how much I rely on them. Offhand, I'm gonna say Silent Hill Shattered Memories. It's a GPS, and it works like a real GPS would. Like, this is where you go on the roads. Hello. But the problem is, a lot of the exploration you do in Shattered Memories is across lawns, or like in forested areas. So the GPS isn't gonna direct you through that. Of course it wouldn't. And when it goes to the other worlds, the GPS becomes completely useless because there are no rules. Like, this road is blocked by a snowbank. This one's not. You have to go across the lawn to get to this area. You have to go around and through buildings. And the GPS can't compensate for that. So there is no point to having it. It is useless. In fact, can I get a clip of Dio saying useless like 10 or 11 times, please? I freaking love that guy. You have no idea how happy I am that they put that in the anime. So, second to last question. Click Shooter 3. Do you like pina coladas? I don't drink alcohol, so I wouldn't know. Although they're what, pineapple flavored? I don't think I would like them anyway. Even if there were no alcohol, I don't think I'd be a fan. And finally, Other Side of Sorrow. With LPs, for example, American McGee's Alice, I was doing a lot of analysis in comparison to Lewis Carroll's works in that case. Like, I dropped The Hunting of the Snark. In Madness Returns, I dropped The Walrus and the Carpenter. And so, like, was I already familiar with Lewis Carroll, or did I do research on that? In that case, I was already familiar with Lewis Carroll. And when I play a game blind, I usually just go with what I know, so I'm not this data bank of knowledge every time. People were giving me a lot of outside information, for example, during the Amnesia Let's Play. Like, oh, did you know that Agrippa was actually this really prominent person? Like, I thought I'd heard the name before, but I didn't really know who he was. So, like, I don't do all this research. I will say, though, before White Day, I did run to Wikipedia to check what the holiday itself really was. The game is called White Day. It's based on a holiday. I might as well know what the hell that holiday was. So I'll do some research just to, like, check myself. But usually I just kind of go off what's on the top of my head. If I happen to know something really well, great. But with blind Let's Plays, that's going to be less likely, usually. And finally, same person. Have I become immune to scares or, like, developed this fortitude against scares in games over time with my Let's Plays, or was I always like that? I don't know. I don't tend to emote that much in that way. I'm not one of those, like, oh my god kind of players. So games do tend to have an effect on me, but it's usually not an audible one. For example, I think I said this at the end of the White Day Let's Play, but Dead Space, the first game, the ending scene had a jump scare in it, and that got me good, but you didn't hear it. I was just sitting there with my controller, I'm like... So, yeah, it worked, but I wasn't shrieking or anything. It's not too often... Like, a game has to get me damn good for that to work. Bioshock Infinite had a really good one, where... You turn around and there's a guy standing right there in front of you because this is toward endgame and the game's never done a jump scare before, so you really don't see it coming. That was very good. The dogs jumping through the windows in Resident Evil Remake got me good because I played that before Resident Evil 1. The bathtub scare in Eternal Darkness scared the crap out of me. Amnesia, it did have a slow build-up effect on me, especially when the monster caught me and I'm like, oh, where do I go, where do I go, where do I go? So... They work, but I guess I just don't emote as much or as often as perhaps other people do. So it happens, but I suspect I was always like this. It's really if it pulls something that I'm not already used to. For example, Resident Evil Remake, the first horror game I've ever played, got me with its basic gameplay mechanic, just because I wasn't accustomed to it. You know, the old Resident Evil games had fixed camera angles. First zombie in the game. And no, the first zombie in the game did not scare me that badly. It's a game about zombies. Yeah, there's a zombie, thank you. But, you know, it's shambling after me, and it's actually going a little more slowly than I would have thought. So I ran away and the camera angle changed, so I'm just waiting for it to come into the camera. And it's kind of not. So I wondered if it reset its position or something. I never played this game before. So I run over to check, and I get to the edge of the screen and the camera angle changes. But it was on the edge of its screen. It was just about to enter my screen. So when the camera angle changes, I run right into it. And of course the character would have seen it a mile away, but I, the player, didn't. So I'm just like up against the zombie. That got me real good, because I wasn't accustomed to Resident Evil anything at that time. So it got me with something I wasn't expecting. So, yeah, it happens, but I don't know. I guess I'm just not as really overly... oh my god, this is the scariest thing ever, like when things happen to me. Which, I guess it has its pro and con. Con in that you're not going to hear me often really get scared by games, but on the upper side, I'm not going to be that shrieking child that doesn't stop screaming on YouTube, because I can't stand that. And if you can't stand that, then good for you. But if that's what you're looking for, then I'm sorry. It's just the way I am. But... That's finally all the questions. There were more questions than I thought there would be, so this went on for a little longer than I thought, but I'm really flattered by all the questions I got. So thank you all so much for your submissions. And once again, I'm going to try to get Killer 7 out in a few days. It might be a little tricky for me to get it right on the dot on time, because I got my job, and I will be at too many games on Saturday, so that just eliminates a day, and Sunday is Father's Day. So we'll see what footage I can compile. But either way, I'm going to get Killer 7 out, and I think you're really, really going to like it. That game is just so much fun. Until next time, everyone.